because I was lucky enough to be working so much as a kid, and I was like constantly in work as a kid, I think I got this idea in my head that this is going to be the life I'm going to live for the rest of my life. It was obviously dramatic looking back at it, but I was like, oh my God, is this it? Like, where am I going to go from here? And then you get there and it's like, there is like 150 to 200 people here, and every single person here needs to do their job perfectly for like whatever you see on screen to be okay.
Yeah. A quick note. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are entirely their own and don't reflect those of the Stronger Self podcast, Sammy Arts Collective, T Films, or anyone involved in making this show. We're here to hold space for honest conversations, and that means our guests speak freely. We hope you do the same. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Stronger Self podcast. We explore the realities of working in the arts and what it really takes to build a creative life that lasts. I'm your host, Martay Mackenzie, and today's conversation is a really, really important one. We're talking about growing up in the industry and what it means to navigate that transition from being a child performer into an adult artist. Something a lot of people, but not many, talk about, and they don't talk about it honestly. I'm joined today by the brilliant Amir Wilson, an actor who started young and has successfully made the transition in his early 20s and continues to build a strong, thoughtful career. Amir, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
How was your journey in?
It was fun. There's tube strikes today, so I had to line bike. But I mean, I live in North London and we're in South, and I think line bikes, I was saying to these guys before, I think line bikes are one of the best inventions ever.
Yeah. So Amir, listen, take me to the beginning. Tell me about you. Who is Amir Wilson?
Wow, it's a big question to start with. I mean, where do I start? I'm obviously an actor. I've been acting, I'm 22 now, I've been acting since I was about 10. I mean, professionally since I was about 10, in The Lion King, as you know. I mean, I started drama classes when I was 7 in my hometown of Shrewsbury in the West Midlands. And I went to a small drama class there called Get Your Wiggle On, who I'm still friends with now. Shout out to James and Ross. I'm in touch with them a lot, and I see them a lot because they kind of found my love for like performing, and I think when I was a kid I had a lot of energy that I didn't know how to utilize, and they were able to help me transform it into telling stories.
Right.
And it worked out okay, I guess. But when I was 10, my sister found the audition for The Lion King in What's on Stage, which is like
we know
which
What's
is like
on Stage.
Vogue for theatre people. It is though, isn't it? It's like Vogue for theatre people. She found the Lion King audition, and she was like, "Amir, you're perfect for this. It's, you know, you have to be mixed race or black. You got to be in London at this time. Come along." And we swept our way down to London, me, my mum, and my sister, and we went to the audition at Sylvia Young.
Yes.
And I remember walking into the room and being like, "Wow, there's 2,000 boys here who all look like me. This is crazy." But it was, we started in the morning, and I remember throughout the day, they'd audition everyone and then half it, audition everyone and then half it. And went on like that. And then it's suddenly now me and 4 other boys. And I'm like, wow, this is...
it's getting real.
Yes, it's getting real. But I had not many people know this, I had lied to them and said that I'd lived in London. But I didn't live in London.
You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do fake it till you make it sort of thing.
Exactly.
So I said I lived in London, and actually I still lived in Shrewsbury. And I remember Jo Hawes asking me, rest in peace, Jo Hawes as well. She kickstarted many of our careers. I remember her asking me, "Amir, so where do you live?" And I remember my mum being downstairs, "Amir, say you live in London, say you live in London, say you live in London." And I was like,
lie.
Yeah, lie. And me being the kid I am, I went, "Well, I live in Shrewsbury, actually." And she was like, "What?" And then I was like, "But we're moving to London in a couple of months." I brought it back round.
Were you actually moving to London in a couple of months?
Well,
or you just said it?
If I got the job, I'd be moving to London in a couple of months, because that would have to happen. But I was lucky enough to have I have 2 sisters, and my older sister, Moya, she had already lived in London.
Right.
With her daughter, Malika. So I moved in with them. I got the job at the end of this audition, thankfully, and I moved in with them. And for the next 2 years, I did The Lion King in London, which was mad.
So was that your first ever audition that you'd done? Like, what's the opportunities in Shrewsbury?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was the first. I mean, everything, I'd done auditions for like the local theatre stuff there, but it was always like with the same people.
Right.
So like it was like familiar faces, and often the projects that were going on, the shows that were going on were like it was a lot of the same people all the time. This was like the first like professional audition I had had.
Wow.
And yeah, I hit the jackpot, I guess, because
Smashed
it was insane. Like I think being a part of that show, I was saying before, like I grew up in like a predominantly white area.
Okay.
And that wasn't a negative thing at all. Like I didn't feel outcasted at all.
Yeah.
But I remember coming to London and doing The Lion King. And it was only then when I like joined The Lion King, and also just being in London, because London's so multicultural, that like I was like, wow, there's everyone here looks like me.
Yeah.
Like I think that was like, that meant a lot to me when I was a kid. I felt kind of more seen, which was like beautiful for a young kid.
Yeah,
like,
because
trying to navigate yourself.
what's your heritage, if you don't
My
mind me
mum's
asking?
from Sudan and my dad was English.
Right.
So I'm mixed race. And yeah, it was just being a part of that show for the people from, as you know, all across the world.
Yeah.
It was the best.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so special, isn't it? It's a melting pot, and we're all like a big family there.
Yeah.
So how many years was it that you were in that show until you then moved from Lion King into what you're doing now, which is everything?
Yeah, trying to. I did The Lion King for like the better half of 2 years.
Right.
I had to leave, unfortunately, because I got too tall. But
And the voice,
there's-
and I just can't wait to be.
There's actually let's say quickly. There's a funny video. So my mum used to come and watch the show, and she used to film secretly, which she wasn't allowed to do.
Your mum sounds like a right one.
Yeah. She used to film. She used to film the show. Then like the ushers would come and be like do the flashlight as they do. My mum would be like, "That's my son. I don't care," basically, and carry on filming. But she has a video of me doing "Just Can't Wait to Be King," and my voice cracks in it. I'll show you guys after. It's really fun. So yeah, no, I did it for the better half of 2 years and had to leave because I was growing up, like most kids do. And after The Lion King, well, because I'd moved to London to do The Lion King, now I'm in London because this is like, so now I'm thinking, where do I go from here? Like this is like I guess in my head, it's like I've moved here to like pursue something. Even though I was so young, there wasn't like, I didn't feel like a pressure. It was, I obviously, but I feel like I put a pressure on myself. Like I've come from Shrewsbury to London to do this because it is a career. And,
of course.
And what do I do now? So not long after The Lion King, I met like through Miriam, who's a girl who also did The Lion King before me. But she put me through to like a kids agency. And well, in between that, I was just being a kid at school. Yeah, because that was
So
also important.
you finished at age 12?
Yes, 12. I remember I was like start of year 7, so I was about 12. Yeah.
And just to ask you, because at that age, like I've got a 12-year-old, and it's a strange age because when you're in the industry, if you want to say, it's either you still go that way or it's like too cool for school. I'm nearly 30 and I just want to hang out with my mates and play football.
It was that. It really was that. I think finding the balance, like obviously I'd finished this job and a part of me is like, I want to work again, but also part of me is like, there's a want for me to just be a kid. So I did have a bit of time doing that. I was so young anyway. It sounds so funny talking about. I did have time to be a kid when I was like 12 anyway. That's what I should have been doing. But not long after, I got in contact with like a child's agent, basically, a kids agency. And I was like, I'm ready to, I want to do more, you know? And I did another show called The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole at the Menier Chocolate Factory Theatre. And then after that, I met a film and TV agent, an agency called Seinu, who got me into film and TV. And that was a big change. I think I remember the first TV and film job that I booked was a film called The Secret Garden. And I mean, I remember just going to Pinewood Studios. I got the job. I mean, I won't bore you with like the audition process because that's just, most people will know. But I was lucky enough to land that job. And I remember getting onto a film set for the first time. And, you know, I was, Colin Firth was in this film and Julie Walters, who are legends of the British acting scene. I remember my dad as well. He passed away during the filming of this, which is really sad. Which is also a weird time because in the film, my character's father, Dickon, his father's dead as well. But doing that job and being on a film set for the first time, I was just like amazed. I was like, this is what I want to do. I was saying before as well, when you watch something, when you watch a film or show, you're seeing what you see on the screen, which could be 2 or more people or however big the scene is. And you imagine, I guess, from an outside perspective, or most people imagine, oh, you know, they got a camera and a director and someone put some lights up and they had them in makeup. And then you get there and it's like, there is like 150 to 200 people here. And every single person here needs to do their job perfectly for like whatever you see on screen to be okay.
Yeah.
And that there's like so many like cogs in a clock, basically. It was like, I love that so much. And I, as well as loving acting, I fell in love with like the filmmaking process. And so doing that was just like incredible.
So when you were on set with these big names, how old were you at that point then, like 14?
I would have been like, 13 going 14 when I did that.
But that's crazy because I even respect so much what you've just told me because you've gone through a loss, but even at your age, you still were there.
Yeah.
You showed up.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
It's weird. I think part of my mentality, or like the strong-minded mentality that I try to have is mainly because of my mum and how she's raised me, and I owe that to everything, and I owe everything to her in that sense. You know, I know she's had a hard life growing up, and I admire my mum because she never lets it show. Or like my mum has this mentality as well that's like, your life can be really hard, but you can't make someone else's life hard because of that, or you don't be rude to people because you're having a hard time. Because ultimately everyone's having a hard time, whether they want to show it or not. And I think I kind of carried that with me because, again, you never know what someone's going through.
That's true.
And I was lucky enough to have like a support network of people around me. And of course, you know, the crew and the producers of that job will all talk to me about things I might have needed. And, you know, if I needed time out or whatever it was that I needed, they were able to support that.
You.
So I've always felt like I had this like support net. Which is really important to have.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you that actually, like at that age as well, you're working with adults, right? And you're in a space where there's a lot of adults there. And as a child, you know, it's nice to hear that you felt supported and you felt safe in that environment as well. Because it must be so like overwhelming and, you know, was your mum allowed on set with you? Did you have a chaperone on set? Like how did it work?
It's a bit of both. I mean, going forward, the job I did after that, The Letter for the King, which then led on to His Dark Materials, which I'll talk about. My mum was my chaperone through most of that. Which is fun, which is mad because she's like being paid to be my mum. It was like the best job in the world.
Yeah.
And we got to travel to all these amazing places. We got to go to New Zealand for 2 months and then the Czech Republic for 6 months on The Letter for the King, which that as well, I'd always felt like I'd grown up a lot quicker than people around me. Not in like when I was around my friends, I always felt like a kid. But like I feel like internally, I always felt like I'd grown up quick, which in some ways I had just because of the experiences I would have had. You know, being out of school and working or whatever. I mean, I still was a kid in essence, but subconsciously there was that feeling of maybe having grown up quicker. And doing The Letter for the King, I mean, I was like 14 and there was another boy, Nathaniel, who was like 12 at the time. But everyone else was my age now, like 20, 21, 22, 23. And I think being around people, and crew members, of course, because all the crew members are older, but being around people constantly who are older than you kind of grows you up in a sense, naturally.
Yeah, you have to. And also you've got a responsibility, haven't you? Like,
and that,
you're there to do a job. Yes, you're a child, but we've booked you to do
a job. Yeah. And it's, exactly. So
know?
it's and I've always worked with people who are so professional and like, yeah, we can laugh and have fun, but when it's time to do the work, like we got to do the work because this is what we're here to do. So I've always just tried to carry that with me.
Well, what I wanted to ask you as well is, there's a lot of things that you've done. You're still only 22, right? So this is a career that you've had from age 10 to age 22. Not everybody, that doesn't happen for everybody. Even the most talented of person, that doesn't happen for everybody. So there's got to be something within you, and it might be that, you know, having that support of your mom as well, but there's got to be something in you that people go, we're going to take a chance on this kid, because not everyone goes from this to that to this to that. What do you think it is that you bring?
That's a good question. I think because I was lucky enough to be working so much as a kid, and I was like constantly in work as a kid, I think I got this idea in my head that this is going to be the life I'm going to live for the rest of my life. And it was amazing, you know, and I was working on these great jobs with these amazing people. And I kind of I felt like hit the jackpot in that sense.
Right.
And all those experiences were great, and it was like I never had a bad. I still to this day I haven't had like a bad experience, because there's that whole also stigma around like being a child actor and how bad that can be.
Yeah, because it
can be, and it definitely can be.
We've seen it in Hollywood, right?
Of course, and it definitely that is a reality for some case. But from my experience, it was like incredible, and I had the best time ever. But I think, and then I became an adult, became 18, 19. And I wasn't a child actor anymore. And I think transitioning from child actor to adult actor was a shock to me. I think, firstly, you're in a bigger pool of people once you're an adult actor. I think the child actor world, although it can seem big whilst you're in it, it's not actually that many like kids. All the kids I know who are child actors, we all know each other.
Right.
Like I'm seeing them next week. That's how you know it's a small world.
Small
like
circle,
everyone knows each other. You know what I mean? So first stepping into a world where you're in a bigger pool of people, that was hard. And then I wasn't working as less. There was time where I was out of work. And I say this like I'm not still very young. So I want to just take this with a pinch of salt. I know I'm still very young, and it's not like I've been out of work for ages and ages. But because I was used to working so much, because I was like constantly working, and then booked and busy, whatever you want to call it.
Booked and
blessed and busy. And then I was in my head, I was like, oh my God, this is it. It was obviously dramatic looking back at it, but I was like, oh my God, is this it? Like, where am I going to go from here? Like, should I be doing this? Maybe I was just a child actor, this, that, and that.
So how did you deal with that? Like, was it your friends, your peers, your mom going, look, you know, it's okay, there's more out there? Or
I think it was, well, firstly, when I was out of work, it made me realise how much stuff I'd missed out on as a person.
Right.
Spending time with friends and with family, and doing things that young people should be doing, like travelling and going, like, new experiences.
Of course.
So I spent a lot of time doing that. I said, I'm not going to, although I was auditioning and stuff, I was like, I missed out on so much of my youth that, like, I owe this time, A, to my friends, and B, to myself, just to like grow up as a person. Because I think as actors, we draw on our life experiences for our work.
Right?
You have to.
Yeah.
But if all my life experiences were just being on film sets, I'd have I'd have no like real life experience. So there became a switch, and I was like, okay, even if I'm not working, I'm going to live my life to like the fullest and try get as much experience as I can in anything. And I think I've learned to like love doing what I do in terms of my work.
Yeah.
I love doing it more than I hate not doing it. If that makes sense.
And I guess, you know, experiencing other things like you did, that's going to help you with the acting.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can go into your toolbox and go, right, I can draw upon this.
100%.
I wanted to ask you about your friends, because obviously, again, at the age that you were at, were your friends like, he's acting? What was the vibe with your friends? Were they like cheerleading you? Or were they like, well, dude, this ain't cool?
Well, it was no, they actually were really supportive.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
I think that I think they were just really taken aback, because they came and watched me on set a couple of times. I had friends when I was like 14. My friends Hux and Daniel came out to Prague to visit me. But like, what I love about my friends is that they don't really care about what I'm doing, my work.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And I really appreciate that, because it's when I talk to, if I'm just living the life I do is like working, and then I go to my friends and then I talk about my work. There's no, so like I go back, like I could be doing a really cool job, and then I go see my friends and I'd be like, oh, I was doing this, and they'd be like, cool, how was it? And I'd be like, it was great. And then we just go back to talking about whatever.
Yeah.
They never made me feel like it was like anything big, which I like really, really value, because then I've always felt like normal or whatever.
Normal, yeah. I think situations like that and having friends like that, it keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got friends that are like totally gassing up what you do, then you go into the real world where people are like, okay, well, you're just Amir to us, and it's like, well, hang on, I'm the shit.
Yeah. 100%.
Everybody around me and my friends are telling me, but I think it's nice to have friends who are like, cool, how was the job? Great, right.
Yeah.
FIFA.
Yeah, exactly. It is that. Like, they
You know
want to
what I
know I'm
mean?
doing well. Then it's like, okay, you're cool. You had a good time. Then
Yeah.
it's fine. Because
Yeah.
I think even now we're older as well, because I'm still friends with these guys. It's only like acting that people, or like any sort of creative thing where like you get the idea that people might want to like talk about it loads. But as in if someone has a different job, it's not like you spend half the time to your friends who don't work in this industry talking to them about their jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'd be weird. In my head, it's weird for them to talk about my job with me all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because, you know, and again, when people know that you're a creative and then you go, by the way, what do you do? Oh, no, my job's boring. It's like, no,
exactly.
what do you do? Like,
yeah.
You know,
it is that as well.
I think sometimes they've sort of put us on this pedestal and it's like, no, your job is just as important as our job. And I'd love to know what it is you do, you know?
Mind you, I do hate the question when you tell someone you're an actor and they're like, oh, so what have I seen you in? And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know what TV you watch.
Just say Google me, innit?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, Google. But I'm like,
me.
oh my God, it will happen at the pub sometimes, and I'll just get in small talk. Sometimes I just make it up, or I'll be like, I'm at university. I'm not at university. I'm studying geography. If I'm with I go visit my friends at uni, and if I'm doing that, I just lie. But I'm actually here and I'm studying politics.
You just take on the role of one of your friends.
Yeah.
So going from, like, you're 22 now.
Yes.
Where do you go from here? Like, you've done so much already. Like, what is the next step for you? Like, are you going to remain acting? Are you wanting to pivot and try other things?
Yeah. I want to remain like creating in any sort of sense. I mean, I have dreams and hopes of or want to direct and write, and I'm working on things like that with my friends at the moment. All very much like in its early stages, but that's the plan. I think I've felt recently that like you can't just wait around for like an opportunity to come, you know?
Yeah.
Like I have great agents and they get me great auditions all the time, but I don't want to like have to wait for my agents to get me an audition so an opportunity can happen. You know what I mean? I think there needs to be, you need to be like more proactive than that.
Absolutely.
Because you got to put in the effort yourself. Do you know what I mean? So I think like, creating and doing my own stuff, but also I just want to like experience like everything. I've been lucky enough to been able to save up money so I can go traveling and stuff. And you know, I'm big into climbing. A year and a half ago, I went to Nepal and did a big hike with my friend. And I've got it tatted. I got the mountain tattooed on the side of my body. And I went traveling to Southeast Asia. Next year, a couple of my friends want to go to South America. I want to do that. I also just want to like live life as well, because I feel like that's always gonna, that you've not had
always that as much.
Exactly, and you're always gonna benefit from that, I feel. You know what I mean?
So what I wanted to ask you, which I picked up on, like you said, you've saved up and now you can do X, Y, and Z. This is something that I think is really important, because you can land a really good job and you get this money, you get this paycheck coming in and you're like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. What car am I going to buy? And for someone of your age, and that's, I don't want to sound condescending, but to be like, you know what, I've worked, I've saved, and I can do this with my money.
Let me just clarify, I haven't saved.
Okay, but you had money and you traveled with the money. But I think it's really important for young performers, particularly, not even young performers, but like even older performers, like when you get that paycheck, be smart with it. Like, be smart.
I wish I was more, if I'm being honest. But no, I think I haven't come from a relatively like wealthy background.
Okay.
And I'm okay saying that.
Yeah.
And so I think when I first got like paychecks or whatever, my first thing, when you don't come from money and you get a bit of money, the first thing you want to do is just spend it. And I did, but I spent it on great things, like, you know, so like, don't regret. And I was speaking to my mum about this the other day, because another thing, also the gamble of being a creative is that you don't always have a steady income.
That's it.
And that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, me, my mum and my sister, we rent our place in North London, and we always hope to buy and stuff, but it was like, that's not what it is. But when you don't have a steady income, you worry about those things, and it is a nerve. It's like you can't. That's the hardest thing about it, I think. Not knowing. There's no guarantee in anything.
Yeah. Do you think that's what gives you your drive then?
I think partly. I think definitely when I was growing up as well. I think, especially after my dad passed as well. I think I felt like became the man of the house like very young.
Right.
And obviously I was earning, of course, as well. So I kind of felt that, and I enjoyed doing that, you know, and it felt good to me to do that.
And to give back to your mom.
And give back to my mum. Like, my mum sacrificed so much of her life, you know, growing up with me and my sister growing up. She raised us basically as a single mother, you know. If I want it, I want to give back to her in every way possible.
Yeah, no, I feel you, because my background's the same. Like, I'm from up north as well, and having like a single parent, and then they're raising you single-handedly. And again, you know, humble beginnings. Like, it was humble beginnings. Yeah. And I think that does give you that drive to, because people can also look and say, well, you shouldn't be where you are now, because where you started, you shouldn't necessarily be where you are now. And I think that's what spurs you on as well.
And
like,
I think, that as well. And also, I think being like kinder to myself in that sense. I think there was a period in my life where I was like frustrated at myself. Be like, you know, why aren't you working more, booking more? And, you know, use that whole, you know, comparison is the thief of joy sort of thing. You know, looking at other people who might be around the same age as you who are doing more. But like, that's not, they didn't come from where I came from. You know what I mean? I don't need to compare myself with them, because you know, I've come from Shrewsbury and I'm now here. Like, the cards that we're all dealt are all different. And like, I'm actually considering everything that's gone on in my life. I'm happy to be, and I should be proud of myself to be
definitely.
where I am now. You know?
How did you, because you mentioned growing up in Shrewsbury, like it wasn't that diverse.
Yeah.
So how did you feel? You mentioned when you went into The Lion King, but just generally, like being in London, like it's a whole different situation.
As soon as I came here, I was like, this is my place.
Yeah.
It was, I remember getting on like a double-decker bus for the first time and just being like, what the you know? It was, I mean, just the scale of London as well was just incredible. And I think, you know, you believe in London that like anything can happen to you. You know, that whole thing. When you're in Shrewsbury, it doesn't feel like that. Right. I go and visit, and my dad's buried in Shrewsbury as well. So I go visit
back a lot.
Go back as much as I can to go visit him there. But it's there's no disrespect to Shrewsbury, and I love everyone who I love everyone who's still in Shrewsbury that I still visit. Shrewsbury massive, but there isn't much going on in Shrewsbury,
right.
And I think people can admit that as well.
Okay.
Like I remember when I booked The Lion King, I was in the newspaper in Shrewsbury. They said, Amir Wilson, film, get your wiggle on, book The Lion King. That was the whole thing.
So when you went to the corner shop to get your sweets,
exactly. Stop guys, paparazzi. I was like, no.
Little Amir.
Yeah, but it's I do sometimes, like I said, I do have to take a step back and kind of give myself props, because it wasn't always easy.
Yeah.
And I think people get the idea that because I was working so much as a kid and stuff, that like now life is just spick and span for me. And it's not, because it's I still don't know when I'm going to be working properly next, and I'm still auditioning and trying to like hustle my way, you know?
Yeah. And how do you deal with that? Because I guess in this industry, there are going to be doors that are going to keep getting shut. And how do you pivot from like being the child actor who's always getting booked to now you're still getting booked, but you know what I mean? Like keep going mentality. Where do you find that?
I think, well, just like firstly, the want to do it. You know I want to keep creating and acting. So there's that firstly.
Yeah.
But also, I think I also know that I need to like work on my craft as well. That's another thing, because I'm not a trained actor. Everything that I've done, and I've always managed to book jobs based off my instincts.
Right.
As an actor. Which I think, firstly, if you don't have instincts as an actor, you don't have it at all.
Yeah.
But there is like there's many people I know who went to drama school and stuff, and I call it a tool book as well. But like techniques or things that people who are trained have that I don't necessarily have, you know? And I'm okay with that. But I also know, as like I was saying, becoming older, not only am I in a different pool of actors now, but also the characters get more complicated, you know?
Of course,
because
you're growing up, you're having to grow up with these roles that you're getting.
Absolutely.
Right?
Like as a kid, it's kind of, it could be, you know, you get the script and you can kind of figure out that the character is sad, and so you play sad. The character's happy, so you play happy. Obviously, as an adult, there's like with people, as you get older, there's more layers to that, you know?
Of course.
So I really just kind of want to like perfect my craft, really, and kind of and do that. I want to get back on stage again. I want to do theatre. I don't sing anymore, unfortunately.
Why not?
Well, I lost it. I was actually speaking to my friend about this the other day. Maybe I should like get back into singing.
Did you fall out of love with it, or you just
Well, my voice broke, and I was like, well, that's it. I'm gone. It's not
you could have been
happening
the next
anymore.
Barry White.
Yeah, exactly. No, my voice breaking, and also the fact that I got into film and TV,
right,
where I wasn't singing. I think that was just so naturally it just kind of stopped. But maybe I'll go back and play Big Simba one day or something.
Yeah, or you get a cast in a film where you're, I don't know, I'm just trying to think who you would play, like what about the life and times of, I'm just trying to think who you look like.
If I put a glass on, I could be Lenny Kravitz.
There you go. And then you can, so that's the role you need. You need the role where you're singing and acting.
Yeah, exactly. My agent actually asked me, Amir, can you sing? And I was like, I can hold a tune. And they sent me an audition. I had to sing like a few months ago, and that was okay, because I was like, be honest, like, is this rubbish? And they were like, it's not rubbish, no.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. You're unique.
That word.
Yeah. You're unique. You're interesting. Yeah, it was. Oh, that's funny. Also, I went back to Shrewsbury to visit my primary school. My primary school very kindly asked me to come in and speak to the kids of the school that I was at, and I was never naughty in school, but I just talked a lot. I've always talked a lot, and I remember saying, because all the teachers are still there, and it was nice to see them as well. But I remember going to one of my old teachers and being like, yeah, sorry, because I know I gave this teacher hell when I was a kid. And I was like, I'm sorry, like, if I was badly behaved when I was a kid. And she was like, you weren't badly behaved, you were just unique.
And you said, there's that word again.
Yeah, there's that word again.
There's that word again.
Yeah.
Unique is good, though.
Unique is good.
Means you stand out.
Unique is, yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And that's another, in this age as well, finding like who I am as a person and as an actor, I think is so important. You know, finding like a sense of identity and who you are. That's really, really important. I think in this age of like social media, which I'm obviously a part of, and I use social media, but it can like formulate everyone into like being the same, you know?
Yeah, and it's not always real.
Yeah,
like, what
of course.
you see is not always the person's reality.
Of course.
You know, and so you can look at social media and think, well, they're doing so well. Like every time I look on their page, they're doing really well. And
exactly.
why am I not doing? But it's not always real, or it's an old story or an old post
Absolutely.
or whatever. Do you know what
people
I mean?
might look at my social media and be like, this guy's living the life. And I'm at home being like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? In all of this as well, you know, trying to find my way in this career, wanting to work more, jobs I have done and all of this, I think it's really important in the time that I've had out of work to find stuff that makes you happy outside of your work.
Yeah.
I think you can, especially when you're a kid, it can become like the only interesting thing about you. And I don't mean to sound rude saying that, but like a lot of people make this their personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their
they
whole,
become that character that they've played for 8 years or whatever. Yeah.
And it makes sense because it's a creative thing, but I feel like only actors, musicians, and make their job their personality. You know what I mean? I don't think like I'm able to have conversations with people and not mention the fact that I'm an actor at all, because I don't think that's the best thing about me. You know, there's many other things in my life that I have interest towards and do that keep. I love photography and I love climbing and stuff. I think although there's a balance between like putting your all into this and hoping it will pay out, but also knowing that this also isn't everything, and there is more to like. It's like the balance between not losing yourself in it, but also like throwing everything at it, and trying to like balance that. I just wanted to say.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point to raise, because I feel it's very difficult when, you know, if you are booked and busy all the time, and then to go through that resting stage, like to not lose yourself or to not doubt yourself, because a lot of times it isn't even sometimes on your ability.
No, it's not.
It could just literally be your look doesn't fit with your on-screen partner or whatever. It could be really something as simple as that. But you're at home, like in your feelings, thinking it's because I'm not good enough, or it's because I'm, and it's not that. So it's how you deal with that.
Yeah, there's so much politics in it as well. It's like a director might like you, but a producer doesn't. You're not going to book the job because of that. Yeah. You know, and there's just so much. And like you said, there's so many different things. It can be down to just a look or whatever. Yeah. And and oftentimes it's not always just down to your ability yet, but yeah, you kind of have to. I mean, you're asking, how you asked me earlier, how I kind of am able to or try to keep a strong sense of self in this this world, and I think it's because you spend half your time hearing no, like, or more than half the time hearing no, and then you go again, and it's like you kind of have to, otherwise it's you're so used to it's 99% no's, and then the 1% yes, and the yeses are great, but it's a lot of it is you have to get used to just hearing no all the time, and that's okay as well.
Because I've got a friend who she was a child actress. She was in Les Mis from being like 7 years old, and now she's an agent, and for her it was like, it wasn't even the hearing no's, it was more about wanting to give somebody else the chance, and I was like, no, but you deserve the chance, you deserve the things. But it's funny how people's mind frames are different, because when she said that, I was like, that's really sweet that you're offering somebody else that chance, but if you're getting booked and people want you, embrace that. Like, don't feel guilty about that.
Of course.
You just seem very grounded. You've obviously done a lot of great things as a child actor, and you're not brattish, because let's talk about...
you haven't met me properly.
No, but let's talk about how you stay level-headed and grounded, because there will be some children, I guess, that it might, go to their heads a little bit.
Yes.
Do you think that's part of your makeup? Is it your mom saying, listen?
I do think parents have a lot to do with that. Honestly, I think my mum's always been very proud, but like, she doesn't let me get too proud. She wants to be proud. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Mum's job.
So like, I always say, like, my mum's like the big head that I don't have, and I just let her do it. And that I'm okay with. But also, I think parents do have a lot to do to that, because I can say this, I've met kids whose parents like tell them that they are the best thing in the world, which I guess it's not a bad thing to tell your kid, I guess, but in a world where this industry can breed like competition,
absolutely,
it is actually kind of a negative thing to tell. And if you have this mentality that you're better than everyone else, and that's just not the case. So I do think parents have a big part to play in that.
I mean, also, I've heard about, like, if I pay you, then will your child turn down that role?
Oh, that's insane.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, that's mad.
But I think we're all, I've got kids, and it's all about making them believe in themselves and everything. But if you gas them a little bit too much to the point where, you're the best thing since sliced bread, no one's better than you. That rejection, exactly. When it comes, because we've all had rejection. When that rejection comes, it makes it harder for that child to take rejection. Because
100%.
Their parents told them they were the best thing since sliced bread, and no one else is.
And then they get their first no, and they're not able to do it. I think, like when kids are constantly, like, you're basically just going on what you said. But if they're working and then they're constantly told yes, the day that they're told no, it's gonna break them. Which is why I feel like many kids don't transition from child actor to adult actor.
Right.
There is quite a few, and the few that do it, you will hear about. But I think that's also why, because a lot of people can't deal with the nitty gritty and the ups and downs of it. And I've been able to quite well, I feel.
So, talking about obviously rejection and getting told it's a no, is there one job that you were like, oh my God, please, it's got to be a yes. I want this one so bad. And then it was like, so sorry, didn't go your way this time. This happened recently.
I can't say what the job is.
Okay, fine.
I won't say what the job is. But it was a theatre job.
Yeah.
It was a play that I really wanted to do, and I had multiple auditions for it, and they all went really, really well.
Yeah.
And the character also a mixed race character, so all the stars were like aligning in this. And I had a read with the casting director, and it was all really, really good. And they even got a bit teary in my audition and stuff. I was like, this is good.
This job is mine.
This is gonna go really, really well. Yeah. And then as you leave, and that's the funny thing as well. When casting directors like are really nice to you when you're leaving, you're probably not getting the job. yeah. That was so lovely. That was so lovely to meet. But they were really lovely to be. You're leaving. You'll definitely hear from us soon. I walked out and I called my agent. I was like, I called loads of people actually. So this is it.
You should know never to do that though.
Yeah.
It's always when you do a great job, that's when
there.
you don't get it. When you suck, then you're like, I got it. How did I get that?
Yeah, exactly. But and then they got back, and it was actually really, because often sometimes you don't even, going back to the no thing, sometimes you're not even told no, you just don't hear back.
Yeah. So this needs to change.
Yeah. You just don't hear back at all, which I guess is an answer in itself. But like sometimes it's good to know why, firstly.
Yeah.
But go back to the story I was saying. Yeah, they actually wrote back and wrote a really lovely long message, basically saying, like we were saying earlier, things that are out of your control. Everything I did in the room was okay and fine, and like there was nothing wrong with that. I'm just too old for this character.
Right.
They're just a bit too old than what they thought they were looking for. I mean, they looked at a bunch of ages because they wanted to find the character in that way. My version of it, or me in general, was just too old for it.
Right, just played it too old kind of thing.
And that's another thing as well. The rejection thing doesn't bother me as much now, as long as I feel or know that I'm doing good work. I think good work's more important than hearing yes all the time.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing good work, eventually the yeses will come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like aiming to do good work and not just like book everything, I think is really important, because I aspire to be a great actor, not an actor that's working all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
You want, even if it's that one role that, and you book that, and for 3 years after that, you've got nothing, but you've done this masterpiece of work.
I want to be great at what I do, so it's and that takes time, and like I was saying as well, the whole, and like we spoke about a lot this whole time, but the transition and child to adult, whatever. This acting game is it's not like there's a retirement age. I plan to be doing this for forever, or at least I want to. So I'm actually in no rush right now. Right. And if there's time, if I need to take that time to maybe work on my craft and maybe take a step back. Yeah. I remembered what I wanted to say earlier.
Tell me, Amir.
I was going to say, when you're like not working as much, or you feel like you're out of work and you get so hard on yourself and you're thinking, what's next? What can I do? I think when you beat yourself up about not working as much, it takes away from the work you have done.
Diminishes it.
It diminishes it a little bit, yeah. And because my friend actually was speaking to me about that, because I go through phases. Sometimes I go through phases where I'm like, I'm strong-minded, this, that, and sometimes I'm like, oh my God, man, what's going on?
I think we all go through that.
Yeah,
though,
of course,
it's
ups and downs, but I was having one of my downs, and my friend is not an actor, and not in this industry at all, because it's kind of nice to speak to people. I know I don't do it often, but like every now and again when I speak to people who are my friends who aren't in this world at all, they're able to have a fresh perspective on it. But they're like, okay, cool, you're not, but look at everything you have done. Like, stop, you're okay, And I was like, yeah, maybe I am.
I like this friend. Who's his friend?
Yeah.
What's his name? What's her name?
It's that's it. I think when you get focused on the bad things, it takes away from the good things,
And so I've got a question also. If you weren't doing creative work, what is the one job that you would do? Like, people who don't know this about you, share with them, like, oh my God, I didn't know he wanted to be a vet, or whatever it is. Like, I rock climb. Yeah.
Multiple times a week. I'm going after this. That for me was also when I was working, I used to get really anxious.
Okay.
Really anxious. Although like I might not always seem it, I was like always really, internally I was quite anxious, and I think I've always been like a perfectionist in some way, and I used to really beat myself up about that throughout my whole career, and I still feel like that maybe I am like that in some ways now. But when I was filming His Dark Materials, there was a rock climbing gym next to where I was staying. Yeah. And I remember just going there to like let off some steam, like in an exercise sort of way, but then like it's exercise as well as it is puzzle making, because you're trying to figure out where to move and blah, blah, blah. And I have like carried it with me for now, and I climbing's like my sport. Yeah.
Wow.
So if I wasn't, I'd want to be like a professional climber of some sort.
Right, maybe climb Everest one day.
Yeah, climbers. Well, I went to Annapurna is like, so Everest is obviously the tallest in the world.
Yeah.
And the Annapurna is like the 10th tallest. And I climbed to the base camp of that. So like, which is like 4,500 and something meters up.
Oh my gosh.
And then there's but it has like a 30% death rate. So like 1 in 3 people die.
Maybe
so I'm
just
like,
do the first...
So I went there and I was like, this is cool.
But I'm
back.
out. And was your mum like, baby,
yeah,
don't do it, baby, don't do it?
Exactly. Basically, yeah. But thank God there was no service, so I was able to just I remember messaging her, be like, you weren't here for me for like 5 to 7 days. Love you, bye.
God, no.
And then I sent her a photo when I was back, being like, this is what I did, and she was like, oh my God, were you wearing the right shoes? And I was like, I'm here, I'm messaging you. What do you mean? I've just messaged you telling you I'm alive.
Yeah, but you also told her she's not going to hear from you for 5 to 7 days.
That's true.
I would literally have kittens if my kids did that.
Yeah, so climbing is what I do.
Okay,
if not that.
Love
Or
that.
I guess, I know it's creative, but photography.
Right.
Yeah, photography. I love photography, and like I was saying earlier with the whole loving the whole filmmaking process.
Yeah.
I would love to get behind the camera. And there was a time where Jane Tranter, who's the head of Badwell Studios, who filmed His Dark Materials,
Right.
Who I'm still in great contact now, she very kindly offered for me to go back onto the set of the new projects they're filming as like a camera trainee.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And get behind the camera. Yeah.
That. So that's another area.
I kind of want to do it all, but I'm not in any rush to do it all.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to take a step back.
Listen,
and
you're 22 years old.
Yeah.
The world is your absolute oyster.
It is. Yeah.
It is. Amir, it's been so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you
and I
very
might
much.
see you on the rocks.
You might see me on the rocks. Yeah, exactly. You will see me on the rocks. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Stronger Self podcast, hosted by me, Martay McKenzie, produced by Sammy Arts Collective, and filmed and edited by T Films. The Stronger Self podcast is part of Sammy Arts Collective's Creative Futures programme and created in collaboration with T Films. Find us on social media at Sammy Arts Collective.